4, Bravo Papa Sierra. This is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra.
Buenos días desde el grupo Señales, Sistemas y Comunicaciones Navales de la Universidad de Cádiz. Estamos intentando recibir y recibiendo en directo la Estación Espacial Internacional, que intenta hablar November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, la Estación Espacial Internacional, que está intentando comunicarse con un colegio en Inglaterra.
Golf Bravo 4, Bravo Papa Sierra. This is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra.
November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. Fijaros en la frecuencia 145.803,6.
Golf Bravo 4, Bravo Papa Sierra. This is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra.
Luego veremos que baja de frecuencia porque estaremos viendo el Doppler. Fijaros, nosotros estamos en Cádiz, donde pone Alfa 7 Golf Whiskey Juliet. Tenemos a November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, donde pone ISS, International Space Station. Está llamando y vemos que la huella de cobertura de la ISS ya está cogiendo la parte sur del Reino Unido. En este momento se encuentra en nuestro paralelo, un poquito más arriba. Vamos a bajar. De frecuencia, porque está en nuestro paralelo. Y está llamando a la estación, ya está hablando con el colegio seguramente. Nada más que escucharemos la estación. La estación.
That could be in orbit around the Earth or could strike it. We track that from the ground and we help the International Space Station avoid an orbital collision with an object that could potentially cause damage. But there definitely are small objects out there that can cause very minor damage to the exterior space station.
Le han preguntado si había tenido alguna colisión con algún objeto espacial o con basura espacial, según el protocolo que tiene firmada.
That's a very interesting question, and as we come into space, we realize that there are definitely, we make it more and more accessible to more and more people, and that would include being inclusive of those people with disabilities. In addition, some of the science and technology that we develop on board the International Space Station could help improve life for people who have disabilities living on Earth.
Bien, el colegio va haciendo pruebas, hace preguntas.
Just returned to the Earth a couple of days ago, and it looks like it takes 2 or 3 days before you kind of feel normal again, and then you regain your strength over the subsequent weeks. So it does take some time to get used to.
Lo vamos fijando, se va separando la Estación Espacial Internacional y tendremos que empezar a bajar de frecuencia para escucharles correctamente. Repito, por el Doppler de la estación.
Some sort of container where you could get it to the International Space Station and you could open up inside the International Space Station. It wouldn't melt any faster inside the space station, but if we took it outside into open space, like on my spacewalk, it would almost instantaneously vaporize. For operations on board the International Space Station, we ride to the International Space Station on board a Soyuz rocket launching from Kazakhstan, and then we return again to Kazakhstan when our mission is over.
El contacto nada más que dura 9 minutos.
Well, I just so happen to be a medical doctor by training, and so if I cut myself, I probably would well, if any of my crewmates cut themselves, I would help them. I would probably be the logical person for them to go to. If I cut myself, I would to assist with such injuries like that. And so we all help each other.
Ajustamos el Doppler.
helicopter on board, but we just so happen to right now.
Y ya vamos teniendo a la ISS en el horizonte. Vamos a perderla y nos vamos a quedar sin escucharla.
It seems like I dream like I do on Earth. Sleep is very good up here. It's very comfortable because your body doesn't require to move around. Without the absence of gravity, you don't shift positions as much as you do lying in a bed. For that reason, I sleep well and I sleep and dream normally. If we were out in deep space, it would theoretically go on forever and ever. If you went outside of the space station and you kicked it, it would also take off in its own direction, but it basically would stay in orbit around the Earth, just like the International Space Station. I definitely dreamed about going to space when I was a child. I also aspired and very much looked up to astronauts. And no, I'm not disappointed at all. I get to work with wonderful people, and we have a wonderful
Ya empieza a entrar el ruido.
space station, but also a wonderful job back on Earth representing our space agency, our country, and the International Space Station. Well, as you can imagine, it's extremely exciting. But we receive years and years of training before we get to that point. So most astronauts describe themselves as very calm up to that point. And then when that rocket starts to accelerate and we feel the forces of that rocket accelerating faster and faster, we get very excited.
Estamos a 1 minuto de salir de la cobertura de la ISS. Fijémonos que ya están casi fuera de nuestra zona de cobertura.
Right now it's about the size of a house that had about 5 bedrooms. So it's plenty of space for 6 people, but if we had more, it would be even more fun. Actually, the only way that I would know that we were moving is when I look out the window and I see us traveling over the Earth. But if I don't look outside the window, the space station is extremely stable and there's no perception of motion at all. But in fact, we're traveling at 17,500 miles an hour.
Hoy es día 8 de octubre de 2019. Son las 12 horas 59 minutos tiempo universal coordinado. Y estamos recibiendo a la ISS desde Cádiz, ya con muy poquita señal, porque estamos fuera del horizonte. Ya se nos ha ido y nos quedamos sin ningún tipo de comunicación ni de poder escuchar a la ISS. Muchas gracias por vuestra atención y desde el grupo Señales, Sistemas y Comunicaciones Navales de la Universidad de Cádiz, Escuela de Ingeniería Radioelectrónica, intentaremos estar dentro de 2 horas para recibir el contacto, esta vez con Inglaterra no, con Francia desde la ISS. Un abrazo y a estudiar y a investigar, que es lo mejor para aprender. Chao.